Chapter 6, City Life. Hello, this is Kyra. It looks like the system can't find any recent records of your brother. Yes, it was clear about that, Jude said flatly. He was picked up about a couple of weeks ago. If the RDF doesn't have him, who does? How can I find out? Was he picked up in Vancouver? No, he was picked up outside of Slate Creek, a sack several hundred kilometers north of Vancouver in the Canadian Rockies. He thought it would be a good idea to shoot down a drone. I don't know what kind of drone it was because I wasn't there when it happened, but I do believe it was an observation or survey drone. I also know that Camo has been surveying and even growing crops on lands outside of Sax in the north recently. Would they have taken him? Camo is a public corporation and does not have the power to detain people. They refer all law enforcement problems and investigations to us. If he shot down an observation drone, then he would have been picked up by a larger transport drone, especially that far out. Did you see that drone? No, I didn't. By the time I reached the scene, all remnants of the survey drone were cleaned up and my brother was gone. The drone must have been a big one because the grass and plants in the area were flattened and burned pretty good. Did you say burned? Yes, the whole area was blackened. Camo uses primarily survey drones, and the RDF transport drones are all standard four-way turbo propeller types. The only drones that have the kind of boosters that can blacken the ground are NADF drones. New America Defense Force drones? You mean he was picked up by the feds? Draw your own conclusions, Mr. Kane. I've told you what I know. Yes, thank you, Kyra. You've been very helpful, he said, still processing the information. You're welcome, she said, followed by a beep. Is there anything else I can do for you? The kiosk followed in its silky voice. No, you're no help at all, Jude said. Wait, Maisie said, can you tell us where the nearest New America Defense Force Administration office is? The nearest New America Defense Force facility is located in Seattle, Cascadia. Thank you, Maisie said. I guess I have to take that back, Jude said. They left through the turnstile and wandered onto the sidewalk. I wasn't dumb enough to think we'd be bringing Callum home, but I hoped we'd at least find him, Maisie said with a sigh. We didn't find him, but we found out where he isn't, Jude said. I can't stand the thought of heading back to Slate Creek and not being able to tell Mom and Dad anything except that Callum is not in Vancouver. Jude smiled. Who said anything about going back home? Here are some insights. Let's straighten out these acronyms. CAMO, C-A-M-O, stands for Consolidated Agricultural and Mining Operations. CAMO in New America is a public corporation whose job is to manage all farmland and mining operations. And except for the SACs, the Sustainable Agricultural Communities that people fled to during the transition to kind of be outside of the government, all the farming and all the mining and all the management of these natural resources is done by CAMO. And there are very few people that actually work for CAMO because so much of it is automated now. But they are always surveying land and they're always managing their land. And occasionally they're bumping up against SACs and they are in competition with SACs for farmland. And that will be an issue later that we'll talk more about. RDF stands for Regional Defense Force. In New America, the state police and the National Guard are kind of consolidated into a new agency. Remember, there are no more states or provinces. It is New America with 10 regions from the Panama Canal to the Arctic Circle. So there's only 10 regions, and each region has a regional defense force that handles everything from assistance with national disasters to assisting with investigations to handling transportation and commerce issues and maybe major traffic accidents or major industrial incidents, things like that. But they are essentially the descendants of the state police and the National Guard. And then the NADF, the New America Defense Forces, that is the military. That is the descendant of the U.S. military and the Canadian military and the Mexican military. And NADF is a much bigger deal. We find out that Callum was not picked up by the Regional Defense Forces, and he was not picked up by CAMO because CAMO doesn't arrest people. So the only agency that could have picked him up was the New America Defense Forces, which means He was picked up by the military. The Army came and got him. And if you think about it, there's only really one kind of civilian individual that the Army would bother to arrest and detain, and that would be somebody who is accused of terroristic acts against the United States, or in this case, against New America. So it looks like Callum is in military custody, and he's likely facing some pretty serious charges. And while they're happy that they figured out where he isn't, he's not in Vancouver, he's not in RDF custody now that they know he's in military custody, they've got to find out exactly what he's charged with, where he is, and how on earth are they going to help him get out.